So, as you will notice, Damnation, I am taking a little bit of a break this week and doing pre records because I'm spending some much needed time with my family. However, putting out and putting up pre recorded videos because you know what? There's too much news for us to miss a day. Here's the thing. Today I'm deciding to do a little something different with the Danielle Moodie show pre-record because I am really, what's the word? Angry. And, usually I decide to put together the slideshows and go through the headlines, but there's one particular topic that I really want to jump into today. And what is it? It's the fact that Trumpism, in and of itself, is the Trojan horse. And it has been for the last 9 years. And while we're talking about the $400 million uh, gift from Qatar to Donald Trump, and that plane will need to be swept, and all of these things will need to happen because it is a Trojan horse. The fact is that Trumpism has been the ultimate Trojan horse. And we're going to unpack that today on this Danielle Moodie show. Buckle up, dear friends, and let's get into it. Welcome to the Danielle Moodie Show today, dear friends. This is a pre record as I am spending time with my family. Today is my dad's birthday. And so won't be going live today, but instead giving you this video. And this video is going to be a little bit different than other Danielle Moodie shows because, frankly, there's one issue, just one. Usually I run through the headlines, and there are tons of headlines to cover, right? Donald Trump accepting a $400 million gift from Qatar. Donald Trump saying to Mohammed bin Salam today, the man that murdered Jamal Khashoggi, the man that is behind the $2 billion gift to Jared Kushner. And Donald Trump on the stage says, there isn't anything that I wouldn't do for the crown prince, essentially bowing at the feet of Saudi Arabia because Donald Trump will do anything for some favor and some luxury gifts, right? He basically is a real housewife. Nonetheless, what I want to talk about today is the title of this show, which is Trumpism is the Trojan horse. Everyone is talking right now, like I said at the opening, about the $400 million palace in the sky that Qatar wants to gift to Donald Trump and that the Republican Party sees absolutely no problem with whatsoever because they say, oh, well, didn't America receive the Statue of Liberty? America received the Statue of Liberty. Are all 330 million Americans going to be on that jumbo palace in the sky? I don't think so. Also, according to friend of fellow Nerd Avenger, Brian Karem, guess what? It would take years to retrofit that plane from Qatar to be an Air Force One, right? It would need to be dismantled, taken apart, swept, put back together again, because guess what? It isn't just a plane, it is the White House in the sky, which is what I've said before. And so, this idea that this is going to be used as some new Air Force One for Donald Trump, that wouldn't happen, dear friends, until like 2028. Nonetheless, we know he ain't leaving office then anyway. But it's a ruse. But the biggest ruse, the biggest thing that Americans have fallen for is Trumpism isn't in and of itself. Donald Trump came down those golden escalators back in 2016 saying what? That he was going to make America great again. And he's been able to weaponize white people's fear, right? With regard to becoming the minority. Because What did Donald Trump float into office on? The idea that Barack Obama wasn't a real American, that he needed to show his papers, his birth certificate, right? Because no black man could actually become president of the United States legitimately. There must have been some type of foul play afoot, right? As this was all happening, as we were getting our first black president, well, what was circulating around and think tanks and inside the Beltway was the impending demographic shift that by the year 2040, 2050, that America would become majority minority, that white people would be the minority in this country. And white nationalists, like those that fill up the GOP, decided to take that as their cause de resistance, right? As the way to unite white people across caste systems in the United States, right? Across economic classes, to say that the only way that you can sustain your power, right, is by getting behind this party that is hell bent on getting rid of undocumented people, immigrants, erasing black people. Ron DeSantis in Florida was going to make sure that your little white children would never feel bad about themselves learning about the history of white domestic terrorism, right? That they would never actually learn the truth and that they continue to perpetuate the lie of American excellence and exceptionalism, all in this John Wayne mentality of pulling yourself up from your bootstraps. And that the only people to be celebrated, right? The only people that advanced this society were white, cis, hetero men. And so, as this impending demographic shift is coming, and there's a black family that is inside of the White House, while everyone was busy applauding, right, the progress that America has made and how quote unquote post racial we were, you have those that are at the Heritage Foundation, those that were in Donald Trump's camp, whispering in his ear and saying, right, that he could become president of the United States. He could save white Americans from this impending demographic shift. Because you see, why would white racists and Republicans, et cetera, they're interchangeable to me, why would they be concerned about this impending shift if racism is something that black people have made up in their heads, right? We just cry about these things all the time. But when you ask, right, whether or not folks would want to trade places, white folks would want to trade places with black people in this country, they say absolutely not. So in their mind, if in fact people of color were to become the majority, then of course, right, there would be quote unquote reverse discrimination. So they want to tell you that racism doesn't exist, but then they sure as hell don't want to experience firsthand what it means to be a minority in America. Ain't that some shit? And so on top of that, right? Donald Trump has talked about the price of eggs. Donald Trump has talked about the price of gas. He's tried to tell you that the Democratic Party is filled with grifters and liars and that, oh my God, wasn't Hunter Biden getting over on having his dad in the White House? Meanwhile, his daughter was able to push forward a trade deal with China, right, in his first term to get her little licenses for her very tacky line of handbags and perfumes and whatever else it is that she pushes on people outside of this country that still think that attached to the Trump name is some type of esteem. It means that you've quote unquote made it. Jared Kushner walked away with $2 billion from Saudi Arabia. His kids were special advisors inside of this White House. And they still want you to believe that at the core of this, they're about making America great again. No, they are not. They are about making America white again. And only for a certain set. They are importing right now South Afrikaners, right? Those that are getting off of these planes, not distraught because they've been living in refugee camps, not distraught because they have witnessed horrors that we couldn't even imagine and they have been, running for their lives. No, they're getting off the planes, grabbing their Louis Vuitton bags and their Gucci bags from first class, so that they can resettle in America where whiteness is celebrated and centered again. Because what is actually happening in South Africa, why these people are leaving? Oh, because the Black South Africans want their fucking land back that was stolen from them. right, for generations under apartheid. That instead of, right, as you're watching and you're seeing this slowly happen across African nations, is that they are kicking out the colonizers that they should have long kicked out many, many moons ago, but they couldn't because their fates were interlocked financially because of all the extraction and exploitation that European nations and America brought to African nations ever since they brought the first slave ship to the shores. And so, what is it that Donald Trump is trying to do, and what will he successfully do, and how will it destroy America for generations? Well, if you get rid of, as he has suspended, 500,000, right, different communities from accessing their visas, which is now in court for litigation, but to throw out the Haitians that are here legally, to throw out the Venezuelans who are here legally, to throw out, right, all of these Black and brown immigrants in favor of bringing in white Afrikaners who, as was stated by a Trump administration official, will assimilate into American society. Remember, during Donald Trump's first term, he was talking about why can't we get any good immigrants from like Finland or Norway? And I said this yesterday. You're not going to get immigrants in from Finland and Norway. Why would you? Why would they leave quality public education, quality healthcare, quality maternity leave, quality combatants against climate change in order to come to America? For what exactly? High taxes that don't benefit a fucking thing? A broke down public education system? Right? An oligarchy that is only servicing the ultra rich while everyone else is going to line up for breadlines. Like, what's the benefit of coming to the United States? You have been gaslit into believing, right, that Donald Trump was somehow going to right size the economy. And in the House bill, right, this big, beautiful bill, they actually fucking called it that. In this House bill, what you are seeing are more restrictions on Medicaid to make sure that the most needy of Americans are not able to access the quality healthcare that they actually need, right? That they have to show that they are working, which, and in fact, if you are accessing Medicaid, you're either of a certain age or unable to actually work and be able to get health insurance, because you see everyone else who isn't a billionaire or a millionaire is somehow grifting off of the tax dollars that we put into the system and that they don't, but they're the ones receiving the tax breaks. Everything that is being done right now is so nakedly transparent. It is a push to re-whiten America by importing racists to this country as if we need fucking more, right? There weren't enough white MAGA tears of grievance, right, that were here that we're all drowning in. No. They had to import some from South Africa. And that is going to continue while actual refugees that are fleeing war, imprisonment, cartels, etc., aren't able to access our refugee policies. Donald Trump is welcoming wealthy white Afrikaners. It is sick and it is so fucking twisted. But like, let's understand that the reason why we are here is because the GOP was able to smuggle in their white supremacist fantasies, right? Stephen Miller's wildest dreams through Donald Trump, through his celebrity, right? And his wealth. Two things that Americans are captivated by. You were never going to be able to run, like, let's say, a J.D. Vance on his face because he's not fucking likable. But Donald Trump has always been that guy for decades that white men love. They either wanted to be him, wanted to work for him, right? Because he was the white guy that could throw literally his weight around, get all of these models, impregnate all of these women, sit on gold toilets, be on lifestyles of the rich and famous. Donald Trump was the appeal. And because America is really good at concocting a gaslight, the billionaire class made you think that you were just one lottery ticket away from being able to be just like Donald. And if you were wealthy too, wouldn't you do the same things? And so you are fed this lie, right? That all you have to do is continue to work hard, and you're trying to compete with people that were literally born with platinum spoons in their mouth. People are telling you to work hard and pull yourself up from your bootstraps. And they've never had to work a day in their life because the money that they have received, right, has come from generational family wealth. While your families were being denied access to loans, access to buy homes, as Black families were in this country and continue to be, they were getting richer and richer off the hog. So you literally had this class of people who have passed down wealth and hoarded wealth within themselves, telling you that all you have to do is work hard. And America fell for the fucking rope-a-dope and continues to do so. And now it's just out in the open for you to see that in order to pay for the wealthiest 1%'s tax cuts, the poorest of Americans will suffer more. Donald Trump is telling people, telling your children just to deal with having $2 instead of 30, and he's getting a fucking palace in the sky. Elon Musk is telling you that you're going to have to deal with some austerity while he's racking up hundreds of millions of dollars worth of government contracts across varied agencies. They are literally dismantling America one piece at a time, hurting, right? Black people, yes, number one, people of color, women, queer people, people with disabilities, the elderly. It goes all the way down the list. But by the time that folks collectively understand that you have been consistently voting against your best interests, hoping that the people that you don't like would be hurt the most, we may not all be in the same boat, but we are all sinking in the ships or rafts that we are on. And it isn't because you had to learn to respect other people's pronouns and identities. It's because the rich are nothing but robber barons. And they've been able to prey on this microwavable reality TV mindset that tells you that if you just keep your nose to the grind, or if you just move a particular group or class or community of people out of the way, you too can ascend to the heights that they were born into. So here comes Donald Trump, right? As the actual Trojan horse that has been smuggling white nationalists, right? And autocratic and oligarchical ideals into this country for the last 9 years, so much so that Republicans now celebrate Putin. If there's nothing else that you ever knew about geopolitics, it was who was our enemy? Russia and the USSR. Donald Trump has done such a number on America that we're looking at Putin as some type of ideal. We're saying, oh, Kim Jong-un is not that bad. Oh, an actual murderer, right? An authoritarian in Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia is somebody that America should be bowing down to and pledging to do anything that we can. Folks, we are so in this shit, and it's only been a few months. And I really think that it's incredibly hard for Americans to grapple with the fact that the American that you know, that you loved, that you have grown up in, and maybe you're in your 20s and just getting into the workforce, in your 30s, in your middle age or beyond, you are recognizing that the America that you have learned and loved is dead. And so what do you do? Because I'm telling you that this country is not coming back for generations. Those of us that are here right now speaking on it, analyzing, trying to connect the dots for the American public are never going to see in our lifetimes a rebirth of America. It will come at some point, but not. I won't be able to see it. And I don't tell you that because I'm saying, oh, here I am, hyperbolic Chicken Little, the sky is falling. I've been saying what was going to happen to America under the hands and guidance of Donald Trump. I started my initial show, Woke AF, in 2017 as a reaction to the first Trump term. And I said then that what I will say today, years later, that things in this country will get bloodier before they get better. That we have not even reached the depths of pain and trauma, right? We're still kind of skirting on the outskirts where only certain groups are living in terror and fear and trying to rub together two pennies. That pain is going to spread like the virus of Trumpism itself has spread. But they have used Donald Trump, his wealth, his celebrity, his charisma, and his appeal to smuggle in the 19th century. And these people that have showed up to his rallies, that have clapped like mindless seals, are going to be the ones that feel the pain the most. So right now, right, you have this House bill, this big, beautiful bill. That's literally what the fuck they called it. That is going to cut Medicaid, that is going to cut all of these social safety nets. And you have some Republicans that are saying, one, some that don't believe that it's gone far enough. And then you have others that are saying, we can't get this past our constituents. We won't be reelected. But I want to remind you why the Republicans at large don't really give a shit, because they have no intentions of ever running a free and fair election again. Right? Like, you don't move in the way that the Republican Party has been moving if you are trying to search for people's votes. You just don't. Because you know the reason why Joe Biden said at one of his last addresses to the nation, they're going to take away your Social Security and Medicaid. And what did they all say in that chamber? They all booed, "You're a liar, you're a liar. We're not going to do that." Here they are. They know that this shit is unpopular. They know that it's going to harm their base, but they know that they no longer need their base's votes. And why is that? Because I personally think that Elon Musk has it in the bag. I personally think that a lot has been done to tamper with our free and fair elections, that Donald Trump's crying wolf was a way to distract from the things that have been going on, that I don't believe that Democrats would ever call out, even if they knew that it was true. Because they are more concerned with protecting the idea of an institution than actually protecting the people. So where does that leave us? Right? Because look, folks, I'm not here to sugarcoat things, right? Like, I'm not here to make everybody think that things are not as bad as they are. But what I am here to do is to say, yes, they are this bad and going to get worse. And so you, right, have to understand where your power is. You have to understand what value can you bring in this moment? What are you being called to do? Because all we have is our community. And I don't just mean your own family and your own friends. I mean our local communities that we need to be pouring ourselves into, taking care of each other. They're bringing us back to the 19th century. And in some respects, I want us to go back to a place where taking care of community actually mattered. That we lift our heads up from our fucking phones and shut down our screens and actually look around us and say, where can I be of service? How can I be of service in this moment? Not just, again, for myself. Because if it is left up to the individual, we will all perish. The only way that we are going to survive this time is together. Is to understand, can I run for school board? Can I run for city council? What can I do to make sure that my local food bank doesn't go under, as I see that people are putting up their homes for sale and that the lines at these pantries are getting longer and longer by the week? If you are in a position to be able to offer volunteer service, gardens, anything that you can do, that's the things that we need to be asking ourselves. Because it's the only way that we are going to get through this. We're not going to be able to individually pull ourselves up from our bootstraps, because that was bullshit from the beginning. It was a lie that the oligarchs fed us to make us think that if we just toil hard enough, if we just become the right kind of cog inside of this capitalist grinding machine, that then we'll be okay. knowing that at any time they can pull the rug out. You know what's funny? The other thing that happened today, Microsoft announced that they are laying off 3% of their workforce, right? It's one of the biggest layoffs since the early 2000s that Microsoft has faced. The funny thing is that they boasted really good returns for their April first quarter progress report. They're not in debt. Things were not going downhill. They just want to, as they said, cut out the fat, cut out the layers of managers. No, they just want to decrease their workforce so that they can increase their bottom line, pay people less because there is a climate of desperation that has been created, that people are just going to be desperate to hold on to a job, right? Do multiple people's jobs so that the CEOs and the shareholders can make more money. And that is going to spread like wildfire throughout corporate America. So, what we have to understand in this moment is that, look, there is no one inside of the Democratic Party that is coming to save you. As a matter of fact, the Democratic Party right now is doing a very good job of once again eating its own. Right? Going after Malcolm Kenyatta, going after David Hogg, who I think is right now performing some type of personalized grievance. But the Democratic Party will always cannibalize new ideas. They will always eat their young as a way to preserve the status quo, as a way to preserve the place of the Schumers and the Pelosi's and those that have been in office longer than most of us have been alive. And so I say that to say that if you're looking for a member of this party or the party as a collective to come in and save us, it is not going to do that. It would rather save itself and save institution than actually save the people. It's going to be up to the power of the people who continue to organize 5501, the unions, right? Other groups that are working as a collective to get their messages out and to link arms and to show up on June 14th for yet another march. Because I told you that I believe that this summer is going to be a tipping point in many ways for Americans. Because all the rose-colored glasses have been broken and the wool is off of people's eyes. And they can see for themselves that those of us that have been woke, that have been conscious to systematic oppression and interlocked trauma, that have been trying to warn, right, of who benefits from the trauma and the policies that are being put out. Ask yourself that. Who benefits from the lie? And you will follow the money straight to those that are insatiable in their greed. So, I look at the headlines today and I look at, what is happening, and I'm saying to myself, the masses need to be awoken. They need to be shaken. And we are going through levels of grief in this country, like you are experiencing the stages of grief when you lose a loved one or a family member or a pet. And that's what America is experiencing. Everybody is at a different stage, but we're all going to pass through the stage of rage and back again. And I continue to say, do not get to a place of numbness and complacency, because we do not have time for that. Figure out where you can fit in, figure out what movement, what group aligns with your values, and do that work, and do it well, and do it over and over and over and over again. Do not ever believe that what is done is done. Because if the forefathers of this country, for as deeply fucking flawed, misogynist, and racist as they were, believe that what's done is done, we'll never get out of under the thumb of the king, so we might as well not bother, America wouldn't exist. Right? If those that were working to abolish slavery, the abolitionists, had said, well, this system has been in place for hundreds of years, it is just the way and it'll never go away, people would still be standing up on auction blocks. So never believe that the impossible can't be done. It is only impossible until it is done. And where it starts is in our belief system and believing that we can, and then we will. So we must believe, as we enter into the dark ages of America's future, that things can change. We may not see them change, but we can be a part of turning the levers towards change. That is my message today on the Danielle Moodie Show. As always, dear friends, power to the people and to all the people power. Get woke, stay sane, and in these extraordinarily dangerous times, dear friends, do stay safe. I will be back live Wednesday. So join me then, 5 p.m. Eastern. Until then, please do like, comment, subscribe, and share these videos far and wide. I am doing my best to hit 25,000 followers by the end of this month. We will see if we'll do it, but I'd like to hit as close as we can to it. They say shoot for the moon, and even if you miss the moon, you'll live amongst the stars. So that is the message to Damnation today. Let us grow together. Let us create community together, and let us be on purpose. And our purpose is progress. See you back here Wednesday live. Be well.